And it's so awesome because it's like, hopefully, we got to get into the match very, very fast. Keep our eyes peeled because that insane instant aerial battle that is going to be going on this map, I feel like is going to pay dividends, right? Both sides kind of spawning with the jet and instantly kind of going head to head in a dogfight. Whoever wins that, I feel like just has so much control over the rest of the game. So Fault is definitely going to be an awesome one to kind of tune into here.
Yeah, starting with Fault, and the players are already ready, folks. Welcome to esports. We're getting into the games immediately.
Oh, wow.
I am so excited. No Mercy versus College Dropouts, and you're right, a good shot on Fault. This will be an interesting one. I think generally speaking for Fault, this map is can go pretty quick. This is only 3 sectors, and 3 sectors with 2 capture points in each. So maybe we see a hold on A1, A2. Maybe we see it on B1, B2. But it will come down to C1 and C2, if not the first 2. But let's take a look at it. Game's getting started.
As you can already see right there, right, this map is very vehicle heavy. A bunch of them already kind of rolling out. And we did get a little bit of the glimpse of the dogfight out in the distance right here. The thing about this map too is that, you mentioned it, there are 3 sectors and it's, very, very fast-paced map. I feel like all the sectors kind of have the same kind of theme to them where it feels like you're always kind of pushing up a cliff. So I feel like that's very, very defensive sided. However, those vehicles being able to kind of lay down some covering fire on top of those hill lines is going to be the difference maker right now. So that way your attacks can actually get up these cliffs. As you can see right here, big staircases to kind of go through and head towards all of the points.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And we're seeing some early action here, and we will start again with a 2 capture point sector of A1, A2. It's not necessarily atypical, but it's not that common to have an A1 and A2 across all of our maps in Delta Force. And so just one to start out with where we're already see that classic casual. You're going to get tired of me saying it. The tug of war begins very soon. As you can see, the attack has decided to move for A2 first, which means A1 may be a bit vulnerable for a counterattack. We'll see what happens, but so far so good. The defense has been able to hold on for a little bit, but both being ticked down already.
Yeah, I mean, definitely holding it down, right? Nothing to really worry about. But yeah, the fact that actually, I'm going to say there's a lot to worry about. If you take a look at the distance right there, A1 is getting swarmed by players highlighted in red. The attack is definitely going to secure A1 very, very early on. And listen, if they have that much control over the map already, I would not be surprised if A2 were to fall soon after.
Yeah, and this is obviously a look at Fault, and you can see that already we've got some vehicles in here for not only jets in the sky. Shout out to the jets. We've seen some great plays with them. I think a dogfight's still happening likely, but also vehicles on the ground for the attack already. An armored transport, an IFV, so far, or Lav. It looks like they're actually getting quite a bit of value out of these vehicles, making sure people can get onto the map quickly. And we'll see what the defense is able to do. All day today, by the way. Red going to be your attackers, green going to be your defense. If you're watching from our in-game esports observer, whether it's in free cam or in this POV, if you see green, that's our defending team. And already the attack has taken A1.
Yeah, I'm happy that you went ahead and mentioned that because I saw top right of your screen, I saw in the kill feed, I did see a jet pick up an elimination from the attacking side. So you have to imagine the skies are being controlled right now by the attackers, which is potentially the foothold for this domination over the A sector right now. A2 is actually in the control of the attackers right now, so much so that Flix here is going to be pushing towards the spawn of the defenders, is kind of holding them out. This is surely an easy capture for the attackers already. And Goj, we like to talk about it as well. Last weekend, it was like a big talking point for us. How many lives do you actually spend pushing some of these sectors? They've spent 20. That is not enough to feel confident on the defensive side.
No, it's really good shot. A1 and A2 go almost immediately. I mean, we don't lose anything. We're up to max lives going into B1, B2. Reminder, there's only 3 sectors. The attack looking pretty strong. I know a lot of folks like to favor this defensive position, but here's the thing about Warfare. It is all momentum, and the attack has all of that momentum. They are drifting to the finish line already as we wrap up the first 2 points. But a little bit harder of a task. Up the hill we go, up into the fortress, B1 and B2. Let's see what they can do as we begin to move to the new one.
Yeah, and these terrain make it very, very hard for vehicles to get involved on some of these points. As you can see, it's very linear, right? There's one dirt road path kind of up to the points right there, and I actually saw there were some anti-tank mines already placed down, which is why you can see off in the distance the attacking vehicles kind of laying down suppressive fire on these ridgelines, because if they get involved, they can very easily be destroyed. So the vehicle game is a little bit atypical than what we're kind of used to seeing. Usually the vehicles want to kind of get involved, make a big impact play for your side to actually get some control over the map. But this is going to be one of those cases where it'll be very, very hard for them to actually get onto the point.
Yeah, it does look like, by the way, as the attack is trying to figure out what the entry point will be. I believe our defense did pick up a tank destroyer, so they're going to have a little bit more firepower holding these points down. I would expect them to be able to hold it for longer, especially because I believe it'll be John the Bomb has been agreed to be one of their main vehicle drivers, which is pretty standard. We'll see if that's correct. I can't quite read the name, but we'll keep an eye out maybe on the kill feed as well. We get a closer look. It actually looks like maybe it's Element in the one of the vehicles at the very least. And I am getting word from production that is Element for sure. So I wonder what John's doing right now, as he traditionally speaking has been in the in the defensive vehicles, Element on the attacking vehicles. Let's see if maybe he can strike back and finally punish some of the attacking vehicles.
Okay, Element kind of controlling one of the vehicles. I did see it was Columbus 13 on the attacking side that was picking up more kills out of the jet. So that jet is still alive for the attacking side of things. And actually, off in the distance as well, in the sky, I see a helicopter picked up for the attack as well. So aerial dominance coming out for the attacking side. And I feel like that's going to be so important.
Yeah, the vehicle dominance right now. I mean, again, this is fault. 3 sectors and a lot of vehicles already moving into the mix, so it's utter chaos always. Alcatraz in the defensive vehicle. It looks like one of the 2 now that they have, so a big battle happening around both points right now. The attackers trying to secure here on B1. B2 getting ticked back the way of the defense, but B1 going to the side of the attackers, at least for now. But how many bodies do they truly have? Not enough. Looks like a ton of green in the kill feed. The defense finding a stabilization moment. And I did see John the Bomb has one of those vehicles. Watch out for John.
Yeah, great swarm from the defensive side of things. Usually, you know, Goj likes to point at the tug of war, and I was like, okay, there's a lot of defenders on B1. I know there's attackers on B2 too, so they've probably got a bigger presence on B2, but no, they actually successfully defended both at the same exact time, recaptured both of them right there. So great job by the defense.
Yeah, Alcatraz is able to maintain control over his vehicle for the defense, but John just got rocketed out of it. Seemingly didn't have enough engineers around, or just got caught in a weird angle coming around the backside. Watch out for that heli. I'll be paying attention to the kill feed to see how much value they can get out of it. Can certainly pepper this point, though. You can see some of that value already coming through as the attackers swarm onto B2 and have an advantage there. Let's see what the defense does.
Yeah, the flood onto B2 is seeming to be the focus right now for the attackers. They must have a squad kind of off in the distance, kind of pulling some respawn points in for their squad, because it looks like this constant flow keeps coming in right now. But B2 is still very, very hard to take. There's a lot of angles that the defenders can use, and as I say that, the head glitch absolutely ripped off of it.
They got control for now, but not too many places you can hide. A few pieces of cover down here, and you just got to run through the smoke. Anything you get your hands on and get bodies onto the point. One way to do that, though, is run Stinger. You're going to be seeing a lot of Stinger operators today, making sure that they revive, keep people up, heal people when they can. And you're seeing it in perfect display on main, on the point, to make sure they have the majority. Here's a look at our jet over the top, trying to run some dogfights when they need to, and some bombing runs when they have to.
One of the great things about, you know, watching warfare is that when you tune in, you sometimes get a glimpse at what one side has down. And as we were kind of tuning into the jet right there, I saw from the distance, we saw there was like 5 respawn beacons down on the backside of some of these points. So a lot of options for the attacking side to kind of keep this flood going on, which is why the B2 attack is so constant right now. But as I say that, look at this. The defense, again, going to be defending, but they invest all of those resources, and now B1 is completely attack-sided. That one's going to be going over to them for sure.
Yeah, this is a fun moment where we get to talk about, like, I wonder if that tug of war analogy, we'll have to think of another one, because you can't swap sides in tug of war, but that's really what's going on here, right? Traditionally, it's like we give up one in order to maintain the other, and this will go back and forth all day today, but the attack did a perfect counterattack over to the other side. Once they saw B2 being swarmed, they said that means B1 is wide open for us, and a great call. I'm not sure who made that call, but in Victory Unite, the commander can issue orders. We'll watch out for some of those as well. Another way to earn points, which allows you to get some of those support systems coming through, like our artillery barrage, guided missile, and everything in between, as well as getting more vehicles on the map.
Absolutely. And you see John, the bomb right there, kind of making a push with the vehicle. He's going to be getting blown up after he did take down one. So that's a 1-for-1 trade in terms of the vehicle game right now. Now, B2, or the B sector in general right now, this one's going definitely a lot better for the defense, right? And, you know, obviously they've already lost B1. I don't know if they'll be able to reclaim that because, you know, it seemed like there was such a heavy presence from No Mercy all over that point. But the upside being is that we're down to 105 lives, right? They have made a huge effort to go ahead and pick up a lot of kills that have not been able to pick up right now. So great job for them. And if they can keep kind of dipping into the attack side's resource here of just straight up lives, then going into C, if it goes to C, they're going to be sitting in a very good spot.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I think they would certainly, attackers won't be at full lives if they cap here soon, but it looks like Alcatraz seeing some nice value in the defensive side and a new vehicle that he's gotten his hand on. I gotta say, I gotta shout out Element on the attacking side in the vehicle. Been in the vehicle for a long time and getting a ton of value out of it. You can see that vehicle down below playing kind of this in-between and now pushing up over to B1 to make sure they maintain control. They've got to have a solid position on the map in order to spawn in and be able to mass up again. Right now, they're a bit scattered as B1 is slowly ticking back to the defense if they can't figure things out.
I'm very surprised that that's even possible right now, right? We saw how dominant it looked, and I mean, this is why I'm kind of surprised as well. It's like when we kind of take a look at the vehicle economy, the attack side just has so much presence with the helicopter and the jet. And then, you know, the aerial view maybe giving us a different perspective on things. Yeah, there's actually a lot of places to kind of hide inside of buildings around B2, right? So maybe that's kind of being the difference right now. But I mean, the value for the helicopter and the jet right now, do we think that we're getting the value that we need right now?
Yeah, it looks cool. That's a great question. I'm not seeing them lighting up the kill feed necessarily. I mean, there is a decent amount of cover on these points. Maybe our two area vehicles, there's nobody else in the skies. Maybe they're not getting as much value as they'd like, as B1 and B2 are going back to the defense. Now, the attack have a position here on B2, slowly ticking it back down, but not a crazy amount of bodies. All it takes is one solid push from the defense, and all of a sudden, we could be in trouble, and there it is. Ooh, I did just see the jet pick up a triple, though. Could have opened things back up on maybe B1. We'll see what happens, as both points now in jeopardy.
Yeah, as we say that, they must have heard us, Goj, right? The kill feed is getting lit up right now by jets and helicopters. So the value definitely being found right now. It'll be the question of like, hey, listen, you know, we kind of had this last week on the map Cyclone, right? Where the jet was kind of flying around to a point where he literally could have no value. And so kind of surviving that point where maybe you have less value to get to that next point where you have a lot of value actually ended up paying off last week, and so we'll have to see if that's kind of a similar thing right now. But yeah, B1 being recaptured and B2 almost being the same, but it looks like the defense comes in.
Yeah, we saw that free cam briefly for a moment. We saw almost all of the attackers on B1. They just want to try to find a stabilization point, and the defense are trying to figure out how the heck do I take down these vehicles in the sky. These are brutal vehicles to try to shoot with an AT-4. You got to line it up perfectly, and I got to say, our helicopter operator is doing a masterful job of making sure they are an extremely evasive target. Here's a look at the jet. Does he have the flares coming through? Did maybe a little bit of damage? No, oh, it did. It did connect. It's very low. It's going to have to back up, at least give them breathing room. But here comes the helicopter, and we don't have another rocket.
Yeah, that's going to be Silly Kitty in that helicopter, I believe, is the operator. Looks like Funky is in the helicopter as well. So they are putting on a masterclass performance right now. And look at this, right? Eyes on Voltaic. He's kind of running towards B2. He was the one using that rocket launcher, kind of staring up in the sky. He looks over towards B2. He realizes, holy moly, there's like 10 attackers on it. And that's what those aerial vehicles can do, right? They can draw just so many eyes up to the sky, and you kind of forget maybe sometimes that you invest all that time. Then you look over and you're like, oh, my objective.
Yeah, I looked over to the right side, and it was all red all day between jet, helicopter, and people on the ground. It looks like the attackers have a decent foothold on both positions, and they could take B2 here. This is a nice take on point. I'm seeing Vasi pick up a ton on point with the duo, making sure they stay alive and just trying to win this point. They got to push to point C. We only have 57 lives remaining. Like you said, the defense has done a great job, but I don't think it's good enough. As we called them out, the skies answered. And sometimes if you win the skies, you can win the ground. And finally, they saw some nice value as we push on to C1, C2. Now, only with 106 lives, nowhere near max, but even still, a great job thus far.
Yeah, I feel like right now going into the C sector, each side kind of has an advantage. One, the defense has the advantage of, hey, listen, they only have 106 lives. The attack has the advantage now of the C sector is completely open. There's no buildings here, right? So that helicopter and the jet, their value is going to be amplified on these points right now. So I feel like if I were to go ahead and pick a side that I feel like was going to win over the C sector, I would actually give it to the attack. I feel like our helicopter and jet operators have been very, very good throughout this match, but now they're going to have a field day.
Yeah, I mean, this kill feed is all red all the way through. Finally seeing some green, and it looks like they're actually maybe falling from the skies, or I don't know, but they are dying. Green killing green, red killing everybody else. Right now, the attack has so much momentum, and I think a great shout out from you. Not a ton of aerial cover here, which means our helicopter and our jet get to have so much fun on this map. And with the vehicle advantage on the side of the attackers, the defense can't get anything going. Holy cow.
The kill feed is literally all red right now. Goj, we talked about it. They were going into the C sector, 106 tickets. They are about to capture C1 with 106 tickets. They have not lost a single one, and they are about to take over the sector. Complete and utter dominance from the attack right now.
Wow, especially after the last hold. I wasn't expecting it. But again, such a difficult position when you literally cannot breathe for any more than a second or two before this jet comes sweeping in. A tank just spawned in for the attackers. They called it in, likely with some of their score that they've earned through this game. It's gonna be a brutal one. Finally, green striking back. The defense finding a bit of foothold, but only for a moment.
Yeah, I'd have to imagine right now it's gonna be a little too late to kind of make a push, right? Kind of make that defensive hold. It seems like it's all just dominance right now from the attacking side of things, and you kind of called it out, right? The tank kind of adding insult to injury right now. That one's going to be getting involved very, very shortly, and yeah, I mean, I feel like the attack just way too dominant.
Extremely dominant. Some decent solo plays from some of our defenders, but it feels like the team cohesion from our attack is much cleaner right now, or at the very least, they've just won the vehicle war, and it's paid off. But either way you look at it, these teams trying to get a footing, trying to figure out how to play together. Reminder, the squads qualified together, not the team. Commanders were picked. The commanders then drafted each of the squads. And here we are. People that don't know each other trying to play together, just like public lobbies, but here in custom matches, it is all that more difficult. And finally...
Now, that being said,
Vivid, the only thing I was going to say is just somehow the defense has stabilized a bit on C2.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say too. I was like, you know, we're kind of talking the attack up right now, but there's no progress being made onto C2 right now. Maybe that urgent deployment time being used by the defenders right there, maybe coming into play. But, you know, as we say that, a little bit of a Goj curse as the attack is now getting onto the point.
Yeah, every time we say anything, the exact opposite is going to happen. I love it. I will call out, by the way, top middle of your screen, urgent deployment time remaining. That means one of our commanders has called in one of these score abilities. This is not the most recent update, but it did come in the last couple updates here in Victory Unite. This allows you to basically immediately respawn. Obviously, there's a curse to this if you're the attack. If you give up to immediately respawn to get your body into the game again, you are giving up that life. So you actually see during that deployment, our lives drop dramatically. A blessing and a curse, but right now it's looking like a blessing as they do have almost full control over both points. That urgent redeploy timer got more bodies onto the point faster. They sacrificed a few lives for it, but C2 is going to go their way and C1 in jeopardy.
Yeah, C2 is going to be fully captured right now, and as you can see, there's only a couple of defenders kind of trying to withstand the attack onto the C1. They tried to go ahead and, you know, pulled out that tug of war tactic, going around the backside, trying to get into a C1 to kind of distract some of the attackers. But I think with the vehicle dominance, C1 should be an easy recapture. But that being said, it is actually going quite heavily in the defensive side of things. Man, I mean, shout out to the defenders right now. This looked very grim, but they are still in this.
They're still in it, and I think it's mostly on the back of, it's actually Westa here on screen on the attacking side showing us what I was going to highlight on the defensive side, some solo hero plays. Again, the team play doesn't feel good from the defense, but we have seen a couple defenders pick up triple, quadruple, even quintuple kills as a solo in each life, which is giving just enough room to breathe for the defense for a moment as they find more and more value on the map. They have retaken, they've swapped sides again. You can see the spawns coming in. C1 goes to the side of the attack. C2 now in jeopardy, and the defense have a small footing there, and they've got to make hero plays on the map. And it starts with individual gunplay. You gotta shoot straighter than your opponent and hope one of these helicopter missiles don't hit you in the face.
Yeah, I feel like this push is going to be the one that goes ahead and secures it for the attacking side of things. I saw a lot of defenders actually running up the dirt path behind the points, right? So that means there was no respawn beacons down, nobody left on the squad left alive. So that run all the way over to C2 is going to be a little bit too long, and that one's going to secure it. No Mercy takes the attack side of all things to go ahead and win the first game.
Hey, look, we're talking about it in NA semis. Attack wins are far and few between, but we start with one today. Holy cow, what a way to kick. Welcome back to the Delta Force Global League Season 3 Warfare EU Finals. Game 1 leaderboard is done and here, and you can see some pretty crazy score lines. I gotta say, Clone Force 99 at the top, Store Life 47 kills. Whoa, we got a front leader here in terms of our top Slayer after one. Holy cow, Vivid.
Work in terms of slaying out. I can't lie, Goj. My eye actually went immediately to the revives. I mean, the attack side just looks absolutely dominant, right? I mean, I'm just seeing a 52, and on top of 25, 20. It looks like they're well over 100. You look over to the defense, and it looks like we're like struggling to actually get up to the number 100. Usually when we watch these warfare matches, revives are actually typically pretty even, but I can't lie. I mean, I'm not going to go ahead and add all those numbers up, but it looks like the attack just had way more revives than the defensive side.
I totally agree. I mean, traditionally speaking, you're totally right. Pretty even revives, usually on attack and defense, maybe favoring the attack because the lives matter even that much more. But I do think that could have been one of our issues for our defensive side. College Dropouts, they were trying to prio, get bodies on the map, but one of the ways to do that is pick up revives on the map. I will say it's a little bit harder to pick up revives when you've got helicopter missiles and jet fire coming from the skies onto the points where you just died. I don't know who's going to pick you up. It certainly wouldn't be me. So that is something to keep in mind. But regardless, as we look through the scores in total, I think, a couple standouts. You talked about Vasia, Domkrat on Reborn Squad, going to be our top medic after game 1. Reminder, we've got some individual prizing for top medic and top slayer at the end of the overall series. So those will be your two frontliners. It's going to be Vasia, Domkrat, and then Store Life from Clone Force 99 at 47 overall kills in that last game. But yeah, pretty interesting. I mean, top slayer, top score across the board, pretty impressive stats. But also Silly Kitty, you talked about Silly Kitty being in the helicopter pretty much most of the game. You can see how many assists they got. So that definitely was our helicopter player. 45 total assists just by being in the skies and throwing some of those missiles down range. That is something that sometimes you don't think about as much when it comes to warfare because there's so much action. Just getting your opponents weak will allow your ground troops to win the 1v1s and win the gunfights. And here's our overall stats from the first game. Obviously, a massive difference in kills and a massive difference in score lines as No Mercy did take our first map victory.
Yeah, No Mercy definitely showing a dominant force now. Right now, Goj, of course, we are going to be swapping sides now, right? So No Mercy is going to have the opportunity to go ahead and win this in just 2 games. However, they do have to do it from the defensive side of things.